I'm Sergeant John Giafone with the Danbury Police Department. I've been on calls where I knew that someone was in danger, but they may not have immediately recognized how dangerous their situation was. This was their everyday life, and it may have seemed normal, or they may have not have known that there were resources and support available. But as we went through the questions on the lap screen, they started to see their situation in a different light and began to understand the risks that they were facing. The Lethality Assessment Program, or LAP, is a specialized risk assessment tool, first piloted by the Ansonia Police Department in 2011. LAP is used by police during incidents of intimate partner violence to determine the victim's risk of escalation to serious injury or fatal violence. Once an officer completes the assessment, they work together with the victim and domestic violence advocates at CCADV's 18-member organization to connect the victim to services that can help them to be safer. And that's the critical part. Connecting victims of intimate partner violence to services is a key intervention to increase their safety and decrease the likelihood of fatality. Certified domestic violence advocates are able to assist victims in creating a safety plan that accounts for even the most minor details of a victim's daily life, activities that may be potentially dangerous. Now let's break down the LAP process.
Implementing nationally recognized risk assessment strategies, LAP is a three-pronged intervention process. First, police screen a victim at the scene of an intimate partner violence call. Next, based on the score or the officer's gut feeling, they'll immediately connect the victim to a certified domestic violence advocate. Finally, the officer will talk to the victim about all potential outcomes based on criminal acts indicated on the LAP screen. This will help to prepare the victim for the road ahead in both healing and regaining the power that was taken from them.
The LAP screen is a series of 11 questions that the officer will ask the victim and mark as yes, no, or did not answer. The officer will then ask if anything else worries the victim about their safety. If any of the first three questions are answered yes, a high danger referral is automatically triggered. These three questions focus on use of weapons and threats or beliefs that the abuser might kill the victim or children.
If none of the first three questions are answered affirmatively, but at least 4 of the remaining 8 questions are answered yes, this will also trigger a high danger referral. These questions focus on other evidence-based indicators, particularly strangulation, extreme jealousy, and separation, which is the most dangerous time for a victim. Finally, if the LAP score does not call for a high danger referral, but the officer still believes that the victim is at a high risk for escalating, the officer may still trigger the high danger referral.
Once the high danger protocol is triggered, the officer will advise the victim that they are concerned for their safety, explaining that their life could be in jeopardy and at risk. The officer will then call the local domestic violence organization to speak with an advocate. After providing the advocate with the yes response, the officer will give the phone to the victim so that the advocate can discuss immediate tailored safety planning and offer additional information and resources.
The LAP screen is an incredibly valuable tool for law enforcement. It takes just a few minutes, but it gives us so much information that we can use to help keep that victim, their family, and the larger community safe. It helps us to understand the history of the relationship and identify other abusive behaviors that rise to the level of a crime. I'm grateful for the partnership I have with my local domestic violence advocates and our ability to work together to increase victim safety.
The Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence began the statewide rollout of LAP in 2012. We are proud to say that in 2017, Connecticut became the first state to achieve 100% voluntary participation in LAP by all state, municipal, and university police departments. Between 2012 and 2025, we've seen 112,269 screens, and 54% of those were deemed to be high danger. Of those high danger screens, officers got 52% of victims most at risk for escalating or fatal violence connected to a domestic violence advocate. We know that the research used to develop the LAP screen works. The 3 questions most often responded to affirmatively by victims are: number 1, extreme jealousy and control; number 2, recently left and or separated; and number 3, strangulation. We know that LAP has made a difference in the lives of countless victims. It has increased their safety, connected them to resources, and helped to give them peace of mind, and allowed them to feel heard, seen, and valued, something often stripped away from victims. We invite you to learn more about Connecticut's Lethality Assessment Program at ctlap.org.